Hey folks, this is going to be rough. Here's a trigger warning. I want to address this to the people who are planning to vote for a rapist in November. To the people who heard the rapist openly talk about sexually assaulting women, a man who thinks women are so devoid of substance that he reduces them to the body parts he grabs whenever he feels like it, because he presumes his status gives him the right to violate her, to literally change her for the rest of her life just because he feels like it. I want to talk to the people who have compartmentalized their humanity so severely that they can see past one of the most horrific crimes perpetrated on humans. Yeah, to the grape apologists or outright deniers, to the folks who think, what's a little grape when the guy makes me laugh? Maybe you should invite a predator to practice on you. See what it feels like to be physically overpowered. See if you still think a little grape never hurt anyone after it's your body that was forever changed without your consent. If that's too hard to imagine, then I'd invite the grape apologists to think about a time when they were no match for a force that was out to hurt them. Maybe when they were spanked by a grown-up, or punched by a classmate, or chased by a scary dog. How'd that feel, huh, MAGA? Did you just bounce right back? Did you go about your day like it was just another Tuesday? Well, now imagine that scary force didn't stop at just a spank or a punch or a bite. Imagine that scary entity forced your clothes off, maybe splayed you out, held you down, and violated parts of your body that had only ever been seen by your parents when you were a kid or by the lovers you trusted and cared for. Imagine the body parts you identify with the purest form of love suddenly and forevermore being associated with hate. Imagine those body parts feeling like they're no longer your own, ruined by a rapist who saw them as a vehicle for a couple of minutes of the sickest kind of pleasure. Imagine never being able to look in the mirror again in the same way. Imagine never feeling safe again because a predator picked you as their prey, not for anything you did, but simply for the points of entry you possess. The Republican candidate is a rapist. Let me repeat. The Republican candidate is a rapist. He cornered a woman in a dressing room, a space where anyone could have witnessed the crime. He never thought he'd be stopped. He never thought he'd be prosecuted. The Republican candidate wanted to get off. Simple as that. And because the Republican candidate saw his desire to get off as more important than anyone's dignity, because he thought even inflicting lifelong trauma on another person was worth it to satisfy his perverted appetite, the Republican candidate grabbed a woman, hoisted his nasty, sweaty body on hers, and violated her. Maybe she stopped breathing during the attack. Maybe she picked a spot on the wall and focused on it while her psyche did all it could to protect her from having a catastrophic mental breakdown. Maybe her compassionate system allowed her to leave her body. Maybe she counted the seconds. Maybe she gagged at the smell of his breath. Maybe she feared for her life. The Republican candidate didn't consider what she was feeling. Her terror, her trauma, didn't even register. He didn't think for a second that he was changing her life with his orgasm. He didn't care she would never be the same. He had an urge. She had a body part that could be used to meet that urge. He claimed it, he took it, he stole it. How does that make you feel, Republican voters? Now imagine the woman your Republican candidate used for his perversion was your sister or your mom. Imagine she was your wife. Imagine she was the woman you one day hoped to marry, but she was never able to trust a man again. Maybe she was never able to enjoy intimacy again. How does that feel, huh, Republican voters? Now imagine a whole bunch of people knew it happened, but pretended it didn't matter. Imagine a faction of your fellow man denying the damage that was done to your loved one, or even to you, saying it wasn't so bad because he used this body part to enter you and not that one. Imagine your own neighbors saying men will be men, and maybe you just made it up. Maybe you wanted it. Maybe you liked it. Imagine them trying to intimidate others into pretending it was all just a story, even after hearing his voice on tape over and over and over again, explicitly confirming his predatorial acts as routine. Imagine a faction of your fellow man telling you your rapist is a good guy because he used to pretend to fire people on TV. Imagine them chuckling at his incestuous comments about his daughter, shrugging off his extensive involvement with one of the most depraved child predators of all time, dismissing the testimony of women who describe being brutally attacked by him at the age of 13. Well, Republican voters, this is why ours is not a difference of opinion. Ours is the difference between morality and being a monster. When you proudly exclaim your love for a man who grapes, you proudly exclaim your endorsement of the crime of grape. In my mind, you become an accessory to the crime. You might even become a person who I have to assume wouldn't stop it, or at least wouldn't report it if they witnessed it happening. So when you crow about Trump derangement syndrome, when you deny the jury conviction of your rapist candidate, you're no longer just a voter. You're an accomplice. You're a person who perpetuates grape. And that's why history will remember you as someone who failed your fellow man. And you will live out the rest of your days pretending you didn't vote for him or you didn't know he was a grapist. And nobody will believe you. Yeah.